Hey, have you been wondering which apps for navigation you should add to your phone before hitting the trail? In this video, we will go over 5 frequently recommended apps recommended by the hiking and the backpacking community. I'll go over a couple pros and cons of each, and we'll discuss the price. Hey, Escape here. Here at Escape in the Office, I bring you along on my adventures, and we go over gear, tips, and tricks, all things to make your next escape from your office more enjoyable. Let's get into it. In this day and age, it is possible to carry multiple maps with you, all at the weight of your cell phone. Now, while it is recommended to always have a paper map with you because it is one of the 10 essentials you should have with you on the trail, if you manage your battery well on your phone, these apps can enhance your experience out on the trail tenfold. Now, one cool thing is that modern phones, GPS still works even in airplane mode. However, with the way some of these apps work, it might come at a price. Keep in mind that the prices listed are in US dollars, and they are as of the time of this recording in September 2020. So just remember that prices can change, but let's get into the list. All right, so for number 1, we have Alltrails. And Alltrails is probably the most recommended app out there. It is available for both Apple and Android, but its strength lies in being able to find trails. If you're an absolute beginner and you don't know where you want to go hike yet, this can help you find an area to go hike. So it has an extremely robust search system to help you plan your trip. There is a website, and it helps you at home when you're planning on your computer because you can easily search for everything, get it planned, and then sync it to your phone. On both, you can search for a specific trail and select it. You can also filter down to try to narrow down exactly where it is you want to go, and then sync it back to your phone. One nifty thing is that it shows other types of trails. So if you're into mountain biking or in the winter snowmobiling, it will show those kinds of trails. So for a few cons, in order to do anything in offline mode, to change your routes and to upload your own, you will need to pay the membership fee. So it is $29 per year or $60 for 3 years. They used to offer a lifetime membership, but at the time of this recording, it looks like they've taken that away. Another con is that trailheads aren't exactly clear. When I did the Minister Creek hike, looking at the map, I couldn't tell where the trailhead was. So the parking lot is actually here, and the trailhead is actually here, but the trail doesn't completely go to the parking lot. All right, so the last con is that not all trails are actually listed. The Allegheny National Forest has a ton of trails that are listed in other apps and in books, but they're not on Alltrails. This is just my example. Now, the reasoning for this is because the maps are crowdsourced. So if you are a user of Alltrails and you see that a trail you just did is not there, consider uploading it. That way other hikers have a good chance of finding that trail and hiking it. All right, so moving on to number 2, we have Gaia GPS. Also available for both Apple and Android. It is basically just a big map app for your phone. It has thousands of trails worldwide and is constantly being updated. All right, much like Alltrails, it allows planning of your route that you want to go. It also offers a nifty feature. So Alltrails actually sticks to the established trails that are on the map, but Gaia GPS doesn't. If you're a bushwhacker and like to carve your own way, this actually allows for planning of that. So some reviews say that Gaia GPS can actually help you get to the trailhead. However, most of the time when you click to go to the trailhead, it'll just open up your regular map app, whether it's Google Maps or whichever one it is. And you actually have to set the app into driving mode to stay in Gaia GPS to guide you to the trail. However, I would still recommend just using Google Maps or Apple Maps or whatever the normal navigation app is that you use because of traffic data. Gaia GPS doesn't do that. So if there is an accident along the way to the trailhead, at least if you're using Google Maps or another more popular one, you'll at least know that there's a little slowdown ahead. So as I mentioned, this app comes with frequent updates, and in the July 2020 update, it actually added an overlay for most major cell phone carriers. Now this is going to be extremely helpful as this is fleshed out, because then you'll know where you'll get service just in case something happens and you need to make a phone call. So all that aside, there are the downsides. So under the free version, you can still plan and navigate your hikes. However, you need to have a connection while you're doing so. So this is great if you're just doing a day hike near town where you have cell service. But in order to go out to the backcountry where you are going to have no service, you'll need to pay. If you pay $17 a year, you can download and print maps. And this tier and the next tier are great for backcountry trips. So the top tier is $36 per year, and it comes with a whopping amount of features, such as weather reports, land ownership maps for the bushwhackers who want to avoid any problems. It comes with trail-specific backpacking routes that have campsites listed. It comes with maps for skiers, off-roading, and many other activities. it comes loaded for $36 a year. All right, so for the last con that I see in this is that it doesn't have an easy way to search for the trails. So if you have a general idea of where you want to go, you'll actually need to zoom in and then tap on the trail that you want to go to. Now when you do this, it brings up a little list. So on the desktop site, it'll bring up a little list down in the corner, and you can click on the specific trail you want to go and then save that route. On the cell phone, you do pretty much the same thing. You zoom in where you want to go, tap the trail, and then a list just shows up. Scroll and find the one you want, and then you can tap on that. You can search for it in the search bar. However, I found it easier just to look on the map once you kind of have a general idea of where you want to go. I think with that, it's just a little less user-friendly than Alltrails, but it is still a very good tool to use and one you should check out. Okay, so for number 3, we're gonna move to the thru hiker side of things. Most thru hikers know this app. It is the Guthook Guides app. So the Guthook Guides app is available for both Android and Apple, and it is basically a long collection of long distance trails. All of the trails listed on here have waypoints added up and down the trail. And this is very helpful because it can help you find water sources, it can help you find shelters, or a parking lot if you need to go to town. And the neat thing is every waypoint has something similar to what I would say like a Facebook wall or a comment section. That way, if there is something wrong with the shelter you're going to or a water source is dried up, you'll know about it in advance as long as another hiker has added a comment to it. This app also works offline and it'll show you where you are on the trail, but one neat thing is the elevation mode. Now this is helpful for identifying false summits if you're on your way to the top. I use that on the section hike of the AT and wasn't disappointed every time. I was like, oh, I thought I'm there, but now I realize I'm not. It helps when you're on your way down the other side to maybe the shelter you're going to, because you kind of have an idea of how much more downhill or uphill you need to go to get to your destination. Moving on to the cons, the Guthook Guide is not free. However, considering the development that has went into this app, it is money well spent. So unlike Alltrails and Gaia GPS, it is not a subscription per year app. It is actually pay per map. So most apps range in the $9 to $12 per map. However, for longer trails like the AT, CDT, and PCT, there are bundles for those maps. And for example, for the CDT, it costs you $50 to buy all of the sections available for the CDT. However, if you buy the bundle, it's actually $40. So if you're going out on one of those trails and a bundle is available, it is actually cheaper just to go ahead and buy the bundle. One other downside here is that the comment section can be out of date. So if you look at a water source and the last comment is 6 months ago, you might not know the actual current status of it. So if you do plan on using the Guthook Guide app, if you look beside the comments section for a specific waypoint, there is a notes section where you can take some notes real quick while you're offline. And then when you get to where you have service, you can update the comment so that way, hey, this water source is out of water, or the shelter might have some damage, whatever the case is. That way we can try to keep a running log, which is what it's supposed to be for, but keep it as up to date as possible to help other hikers out. But hey, if you're getting value out of this, hit that like button and then let me know down in the comments, which navigation app do you prefer while you are out on the trail? Moving on to number 4, we are adding to the thru hiker theme just a smidge, and that is with the Avenza Map app. It is available for both Android and Apple, and it's really the only way I found a good digital copy of the North Country Trail. Now for this map app, it is not exactly like the others that I've listed. It is more just a giant collection of PDF maps. So think of it as like a digital map bookstore. And with it basically being a map bookstore, it has maps for pretty much everything. Even town maps and nautical maps for you boaters out there. It is just a giant collection. Now keep in mind that not all of the maps are free. Because of how this works, and like I said, it's basically a bookstore, you have to pay for certain maps. Some map providers require you to pay, but looking around, most of the maps are pretty much $1. However, if you want to do something like the North Country Trail, that entire trail is free. Avenza does have an offline mode, which is pretty nice for when you're out there on the trail. And the way that the maps line up is that they kind of overlap just a little bit. That way it can help you know when you're going to move on to the next map. Now, when you're about to go out on the trail, just make sure you download each map for the area you're going to. In using Avenza, you can actually plan your trip a little bit in advance by adding pins on where you might want to go, where you're going to sleep that night, or this might be a potential water source, things of that nature. And it's also a little bit easier when you're showing your phone to somebody on the trail just so they see what you're seeing. For a downside, like I said, this is basically a collection of map PDFs. Because of that, a lot of the extra features that are found in all of the other apps I've listed, they aren't in this app. So you're not gonna see water sources or comments on it. You're not gonna see where parking lots are or things of that nature. However, for the NCT, it does show stuff like campsites and shelters. And alongside that, because of the way it's designed, you have to download multiple maps at a time, and most of the maps are around 70 megabytes a piece. So depending on how far you're going, you're gonna need a lot of maps, and that's gonna eat up a lot of storage space on your phone. Lastly, at number 5, we have Cairn, which is a nifty app that can help you let people know where you're gonna be. Available for both Apple and Android, this map takes a list of people from your contacts that you select, and it'll text them and email them when you're heading out on the trail or when you're coming back. Now, this is the strength of this app. It is safety. I said it before, you need to let people know where you're gonna be and when you're gonna be there. So for using this app, you can come up with a plan, and once you have that plan dialed in, you can send it out to your list of contacts and say, hey, I'm going out on this day, I'm staying here on this night, staying here on this night, and then coming home on this day, which is extremely helpful because if you aren't home after a certain amount of time, it'll actually let those people know that, hey, there is a problem. A nifty feature that comes with this too is that it actually does real-time tracking similar to a Spot and a Garmin InReach, and can let people at home that have the link to the map know exactly where you are. Now keep in mind that you will need some cell service, at least so it can hit the satellites real quick or a cell tower, and update that map. Another cool thing about this app is that before Gaia, this app actually had places where cell service is available. And it helps you know exactly where you can find a couple bars, just in case you need to text somebody at home or send out those updates saying, hey, I'm fine. You know, just little things that help keep the safety out there going. And I think as this app grows and GPS and cellular technology get better and better and farther reaching out into the backcountry, this app could potentially be a good replacement for a Find Me Spot or a Garmin InReach. However, at this time, there is no SOS button like what's on those GPS devices. So if there is a problem, you'll need to find some service and make the call. So don't forget about that for now. I would still carry a personal locator beacon or a GPS at least until the technology catches up to where they're not necessary anymore. So it is free to check out the app, set up your contact list, and plan your routes. However, to use anything offline or set up automatic notifications for your contact list, you will need to pay. Currently, it's $5 a month or $60 a year, or if you decide to pay yearly, it's $27 a year, which averages down to about $2.25 a month. But hey, even if you just want to check it out, either choice comes with a 30-day free trial at the time of this recording. Moving on to the cons, one of the bigger cons that I saw with this app is, unlike Alltrails and Gaia, there is no desktop version available. So this can kind of make it a little bit more of a pain when trying to figure out what trail you're going to. You actually might need to use one of those other trails, get your plan done, and then move it into Cairn and get everything set up so that way your circle knows. But if there was a desktop version available, it would make things easier, at least for the planning side of things, using a bigger screen instead of a little phone. So another con is that, similar to Alltrails, this is crowdsourced information. So when it comes to cell service, it doesn't list everywhere. Very popular areas are listed, but some of the less popular areas aren't listed at all. So if you do decide to use this app and you're going somewhere that isn't listed, you know, check before you leave. When you get out there, just turn off airplane mode a few times on your hike, just so it can add to the map and let people know, hey, this area doesn't have it, or hey, surprise, I found some bars. So do help out, but it is a con right now that not everything is listed. In the same vein of that, when you're looking at the map, all cell phone dots are the same color. Blue for there is service, gray for there's not. And it would be nice if they at least gave the user the chance to change the color of the cell phone carrier so that way they know that their carrier is this dot and not this dot. Just something for them to look into. Okay, so lastly for the cons, there are a couple things here. So for the first one, you have to zoom way in to see the trail itself. And the second thing that kind of glared out to me a little bit is that every trail is green. They are all green. Equestrian, hiking, and biking. Every single trail looks exactly the same. And the bummer about this with the trail being green is that for some people with certain kinds of color blindness, this might actually make it a little bit hard to read. Now, I did email the devs about this, and they are going to look into it, so we'll just keep an eye out for an update. If you plan on using these apps while you're out on the trail, you'll need to minimize how fast your battery is draining. If you're interested in learning on how to do that, check out this video where we'll go over some settings you can change to keep your battery going longer. If you found this video helpful, please do like, comment, subscribe, and then hit that little notification bell so that way YouTube tells you when I upload the next video. I want to thank you for watching, escape the office, and get outside.